press to record, but obviously we're not like really recording. So. Good afternoon, everybody. We'll be live in just 1 minute, literally soon. This will do what I needed to do. All right, here we go. Wow, this is a kind of a somber day, sad day, if you will. But and my vantage point, I'll be going starting here all the way going back and forth, just so you know.
Okay.
Yeah, guys. So good afternoon. Today is Monday, January the 27th, 2020. This is episode 8/24 of the Untied Jordans podcast. This is technically episode 12. We're 3 months in now, guys. So we want to thank everybody before we get started for all the support, help, all of the media content, things of that nature that you've given us and that you put our way, and things of that nature. We definitely appreciate everything that you guys have done for us and will continue to do for us as far as supporting our show and our brand and our craft. Ms. Dana, good morning. Reggie, good morning. Well, good afternoon, you guys. Thank y'all for tuning in. Obvious conversation of the day. We lost. A lot of people say you lose somebody too soon, and it takes me back to the Lil Wayne interview that he did with a guy named Derek G, probably like 13 years ago. And it was his subject of his interview with Steve Jobs, and basically he was saying to the fact of like you never know what you have or the greatness or the importance of somebody until they're gone. And it also takes me back to my second favorite quote that comes from my grandmother posthumously, and says that, you know, don't wait to bring somebody their flowers. And with the situation that took place yesterday, as if you haven't found out by now, apparently you've been living under a rock or something of that nature. And Kobe Bryant, 18-time All-Star, 5-time NBA champion, 2007-08 MVP. He died yesterday in a helicopter crash. Him and 8 other passengers, including his beautiful 13-year-old daughter Gianna, were killed yesterday in a helicopter crash in the city area of Calabasas, California. A little bit about the wreck, from what media reports are saying, that it was an accident so far. What they can take from the information, that it was an accident first of all, and not only was it an accident, but it was a situation where Kobe Bryant's pilot of his helicopter, his personal helicopter, Kobe's personal helicopter, was given clearance to be able to take flight that day in a very, very cautious day to fly, if you will, as far as like around the LA area. It was such a cautious day in question to put helicopters in the air in the local Los Angeles area that the LAPD later on yesterday afternoon went out and decided to report the fact that they also pulled all helicopter activity from the skies yesterday. So Kobe Bryant's helicopter was the only helicopter in the greater Los Angeles County area that had clearance to fly yesterday. And apparently, as we saw, he didn't make it to his destination. His destination was the Mamba Academy. This is a basketball, basically basketball emporium, if you will, that he's built in southern California, in the area that he lives in southern Orange County, between southern LA and the beginning of the route to San Diego. And he, was headed to a basketball clinic. He was going to be coaching his team, led by his 13-year-old daughter Gianna Bryant. And from there was going to, go into a situation of just coaching regular everyday things, everyday shit. And he's now not with us. And I can remember yesterday around 4:04 p.m. I think I called you around 4:15. And by the way, we got our co-host back in the studio.
What's up?
Steve
here.
And I called my co-host about 4:15 yesterday. And I said, bro, have you watched the TV? He's like, yeah, I saw it already, bro. Like, this is a real thing. And I said, okay, let me call you back. Shook my head really violently, literally, as I just showed you guys on camera. And I asked myself, I said, am I dreaming? Am I tripping? Like, because...
Oh, I wish I was, man.
And it was a situation where, I started cutting on the ESPN and checking different channels of media sports information that I consider reputable, and sure enough, Kobe Bryant had left us here on the earth in this life. I will kick it now to, before we get into reflection and conversation, I just want to, I feel like I have one of the best numbers guys in sports and all of sports talk. So I'm going to turn one of my vantage points to Steven, and we'll go to Steven for the behind the numbers or the statistics behind Kobe Bryant.
Well, one thing people don't realize is the shelf life of the average guard. The superstar guard usually only plays 10, 12 years. That was one thing that was impressive about Kobe was his work ethic, that he kept his body in shape long enough. After tearing his Achilles in 2013, which would end a lot of guys' career, especially after 15 seasons. He played, or 17 seasons, he played 3 more after that. 20 seasons only with the Lakers. No one's ever played 20 seasons on the same team, besides for Tim Duncan, I believe. And Kobe's the only one to do it as a guard, which is it's super impressive when you think about the wear and tear on your body. Not just that he played 82 games every season. He didn't play all the games or anything like that, but plus all the postseason runs. He was in the playoffs pretty much every year of his career, besides for 3, I believe. 18-time All-Star, 18 times straight, which is a record. 18-time All-Star is also tied for the most ever with Kareem. 5-time champion, 5-time All-NBA, 15-time All-NBA, 11-time he was first team, which is also tied for the record. The dude's he's a really incredible player. Growing up in North Carolina, he's my favorite basketball player of all time. Here, it's not football's not king. It's not hockey, even though we got the Hurricanes. It's basketball with the Tar Heels and Duke and NC State all being national champions, multiple-time national champions. Basketball was what we loved growing up, and Kobe was my first player that I cared about. That I watched it all.
Right.
I called myself a Lakers fan growing up, but I don't think I was. I was just like Kobe. He was the type of player you wanted to play like.
So let me ask you this, Steven. What were like maybe 2 or 3 main qualities or traits about Kobe Bryant that you found really amazing, and I'll bounce back with 2 or 3 of my own?
He's relentless. The one thing they talk about is being a closer in the NBA, and it's not just that last shot that gets talked about a lot, because he missed a lot of last shots. The thing that was impressive, when there was 4 minutes left and they were down by 10, he always made it a game. He said, give me the ball, get out of the way. I'm going to hit a turnaround jumper. I'm going to dunk on somebody. And I'm going to make sure that my team at least has a chance to win. And it seemed like he did it every time he went out on the court. There's not the only person that I can compare just the relentlessness is Russell Westbrook or MJ, who he modeled his entire career after. The intelligence. I mean, the guy spoke 6 languages conversationally. And knew phrases in many other languages. There was a couple weeks ago, Luka Doncic was playing at the Staples Center, and he was there with his daughter Gigi, and Luka heard Slovenian trash talking from behind him, and it was Kobe Bryant had learned a little bit of Slovenian just so he could talk to Luka, and Luka wouldn't say what he said, but. They that shared that moment, and it just shows the depth of his knowledge and that he had a ability to master anything he tried. I mean, winning an Academy Award a year after retiring, won awards as a children's book author also. He's a venture capitalist, huge in the media space. Was it just really an awesome player to model, after on the court. He was bigger than life when he played. You knew who was getting the ball, and it didn't matter. Very similar. Obviously everyone compares him to MJ because he compared himself to him. From the time he was 17, saying he was going to be better to MJ until he got the 5th championship and the second one without Shaq. And me being a Lakers fan growing up, it was awesome to watch him play. 4-time All-Star Game MVP also, which it just shows his penchant for the big moments. He wanted to play against the best and be the best out there. I think it was...
One of our viewers told me to tell you welcome back.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm finally healthy.
One of our main listeners, Charles McCoy. Cullum, who is my preseason pick for IFL MVP, by the way. He'll be the quarterback. He'll be starting quarterback this year for the Spokane Shock out in Spokane, Washington. Big fan of yours.
Okay.
As much as he critiques you, he's a big fan of yours as well.
I appreciate it, Charles.
So just want to shoot that.
I have to follow him this season and become a fan of his too.
Facts, man. Best thing moving on 50 yards of carpet playing quarterback is not even close. So make sure you definitely tune in, because I will for sure be tuned in.
Just some other things he accomplished in his career. Over 33,000 points. Is now 4th all time after LeBron passed him Sunday night, or Saturday night. Sorry. 5 rebounds a game, over 7,000 in his career. Also 6,300 assists, almost 5 a game as well.
Imagine the fact that he had almost as many assists as he had rebounds.
That's what people always try to claim. He was a selfish player, but that's not what it was. He was the guy. You know what I mean? It was his team after Shaq left, and it was just what his responsibility was as the superstar of the team.
You know what I wanted to speak on for a second? When you just spoke about him having 4 All-Star Game MVPs, it's something to be said about a guy who's elite, but then it's something else to be said about a guy who puts himself in a position or in a scenario to where he comes around other elites and then he's the most elite. And I saw that in plenty of All-Star games he played in. I didn't see dominance like that in plenty of All-Star games that other guys played in that I could replicate it to, but a guy like Michael Jordan, who he emulated his game after. But Jim Boeheim had a very interesting interview, phone interview on ESPN yesterday about the obvious situation, and he said, you know, I joined the U.S. team, the U.S. national team in 07. Before then, you know, we had some spurts of losing, and you know, if you remember the time when the Olympic team was really like ass, like they were like really average.
It was really average. I think it was Spain they lost to.
Spain and Argentina used to always give them a run for their money because they had Manu Ginobili and company, and it was funny to me how he said, you know, we got there, well, Kobe got there, and the defensive prowess completely changed. And mind you, Jim Boeheim says, I'm 30 years into coaching at this point, aka you can't really tell me shit. But nonetheless, I'm open-minded. Kobe comes in, defensive stalwart for the Team USA. They went on, from what he said, now, you know, it's broken stat, but 75 straight wins, or like a 75-game winning streak or something like that in the time of him being an Olympic basketball player. And Jim Boeheim went on further to say that he never saw a man work harder in basketball ever. He goes back to his kids to this day at Syracuse University, where he's still the currently tenured head coach, and he tells people, he says, "Hey guys, I don't know what y'all think what hard work is and this, that, and third, but you have absolutely no fucking idea."
Yeah.
Like Kobe Bryant is the epitome of it all, of those 2 words, as far as what he saw, and he even went further on as he was completing his comment to speak about how LeBron James was even much more of a better defender on the basketball court in the NBA and in international play after his collaboration on the national team with Kobe Bryant. So it speaks to how much of a dog Kobe was defensively.
Yeah,
and I think a lot of people will forget that, like in his all-time legacy, like Kobe was the equivalency on defense of like a shutdown corner in the NFL. Like if I wanted to take out your best guy, I'm locking up your best guy, period. And I think Kobe was so much greater than a lot of other really great offensive players because of how much passion, just pure passion he had for wanting to play.
Well, that's the thing with defense that everyone that's played pickup basketball knows. It's mostly about hustle. Defense is about wanting to shut your guy down just as much as it is having the ability to do it. And he had a massive amount of ability growing up from his dad being a professional basketball player here for the 76ers and in Italy. Right. He won 12-time all-defensive NBA team. And like you said, people are going to forget that.
I think he was, 9 of those 12 were first team?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think that's
something
right.
Of that nature.
But
something to that nature.
2-time finals MVP as well. Those weren't just for offensive prowess. He shut down Rashard Lewis and Turgaloo and
T-Mac.
yeah. I mean he
T-Mac went off that series though. Like we start looking at these different championship series that Kobe won, you gotta look at like the good, bad, and indifferent that both teams presented. Like I remember Jalen Rose being a good number 2 threat to Reggie Miller. Kobe smashed that shit, put that shit on lock. That shit was over with. I remember when because they beat the Nets. They beat the Nets for a ring.
Yeah.
I remember Vince Carter
2002,
not really hitting no shit against Kobe in the playoffs. Like, nah, bro, that shit dead. I remember.
Well, I mean, the 81 point game is a great evidence. It wasn't just that he was hitting all the shots that he was hitting. Right. He was also shutting down Jalen Rose on the other side. He was not allowing their offense to get settled. He had, I think, like 4 steals in that game. He was relentless on the defensive side, but it's because of what he talked about. I'm uber competitive, and I think part of that was growing up watching him play, where he would always say, "It's not that I love to win. I do love to win." He said, "But I hate to lose
more than I love to win."
Exactly, and that's the mentality I've always had when I've played sports. It's just losing hurts so much more than winning is good, I guess.
No, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think that's something that I take still to this day. And me being an athlete professionally, I still look at that. Every single week of the season. My off season, making sure I'm training, all on top of doing everything else that I do, my different endeavors. And it's like, man, at the end of the day, I don't want to take a loss. To hell with what I'll win, but I do not want to take a loss. So that's fair. That's 100% valid. And speaking of the 81-point game, that's like the most fondest memory that I have of Kobe Bryant. Now let me be clear. I watched him beat the Pacers. I watched him beat the Nets go back-to-back. I watched him beat the Magic to three-peat, or it happened in one of them orders. I watched all 3 of those championships because people forget back then, those were this time's like, I'm 29, Stephen's 25. So like, that was when Portland was really good in the West, when Minnesota was good in the West, when Sacramento was good in the West, when Tim Duncan and San Antonio was good in the West. Everybody was good in the West. The Western Conference was loaded. The Suns was good in the West. Doesn't thank you. Like, everybody back then except for the Warriors were good in the West. Ironically, like, it's crazy how it all comes full circle. And, I can't say that I really remember Kobe in the dunk contest as a rookie. I can't say I really remember. I remember the Kobe AI series when they beat Philly.
Yeah.
I remember watching Kobe and AI go at it. I remember that vividly, like yesterday.
So I know this might be just because I've seen it so many times, but I feel like the first game I remember watching was when he threw the alley-oop against the Blazers, and Shaq comes down making the face.
I remember that live.
Yes, that's
and
the
how
first
big and epic of a moment that was.
That's the first sports memory I have. Period. Was watching Kobe do that, and you're able to relate to Kobe better just because you're not a giant like Shaq.
That was a Sunday afternoon. That was a Sunday afternoon game. My mom cooked Sunday dinner. I was living in Parkland Apartments in Columbia, South Carolina. I remember that like it was yesterday.
It's my first sports memory.
June was May, June-ish. Like, school was almost out, if not already out.
Yeah.
Because it was around, it was like conference finals, NBA finals time. School had just let out. And also, before we tent for Kobe with, hey, matter of fact, everybody on my Instagram live, everybody on my Facebook live, like I said on my couple of posts that I put out, any comments, anything y'all want us to discuss, we're here for y'all today. We're not really here to give a whole myriad of information, and that'll change a little bit going forward in these future episodes. But since we're talking about the subject today, everybody on my Instagram live, everybody on my Facebook live, our Instagram and Facebook live, tune in, man. Let us know how y'all feel about Kobe Bryant. Let us know the best games you remember, his best performances. We're gonna get to some funny stuff about Kobe too, because there's a couple times Kobe went out bad too. So because I try to celebrate a person's death when they're gone. I don't believe in just being sad and mourning, because I'm ridiculously sad. I had a chance to see Michael Jordan play, so I still think Mike's the greatest of all time. But I think for my timeline, from 1990 to 2020 as a almost 30-year-old man now, I have to say that Kobe was like my guy. Chris, granted, the first 13 years of my life, Michael was playing basketball on and off. Let me be clear. And there's a couple of points that I'll speak to later about the difference between Mike and Kobe. But nonetheless.
And that's the same thing. It's that it's not that it's someone that was close to me or anything. He's the first really huge basketball social media star. He was the one that was there right before LeBron started. And he was already the best player in the league by the time social media started. So
you know what helped his social media prowess so much though? His influence in China.
Exactly. He's
huge,
the most famous player in the history of China. Sold more shoes than anybody. During the lockout, he actually got paid $1 million a game. Played I think like 11 games or 17 games or something like that in the highest Chinese league over there, just to keep in shape.
I forgot about that.
$1 million a game was what they were throwing at him. I think it was the Beijing Dragons, I believe. I could be wrong about that.
I can go for that.
I think my favorite memory of him, the 81-point game was big. I don't think people understand. I think it is slightly more impressive than Will because he played in a time where being 7'1" and having a 40-inch vertical, you're going to be able to score the basket.
And to piggyback on your statement, being 7'1" with a 40-inch vertical in that day and time of athlete, you were just so ridiculously dominant in the competition. It wasn't even close.
It wasn't. One thing that was different back then is the way they called fouls were a little bit easier. So he would have a penchant to foul out of games every once in a while. Not really.
Right.
Not foul out of games, sorry, but got called fragile because he wouldn't want to get in there and bust around and have a bunch of fouls called against him because he didn't like shooting free throws. I should say he fouled out. But he didn't like when people would foul him because he wasn't a confident free throw shooter.
Okay. I didn't know that about
Oh, he only shot, I think, 47% for his career from the free throw line.
That makes sense, though. That makes sense with Will Chamberlain being 7'1". I have to say that for the 81-point game, I think personally that's the greatest scoring performance that will ever be seen because I'm 30 years old. I'm 30 years in, and I have yet to see this 100-point game.
I don't know if we will. I think there's a couple of players.
I'm not saying it didn't happen, but I just feel like, I saw another Kobe story. Thursday night, Fox Sports Net. I'm from Columbia, South Carolina. Channel 31. Back in the day, Fox Sports 1 carried all the late Laker games or like just 10:30 NBA games. I'm just bullshitting around like supposed to be going to bed. Like I'm in high school, if I'm not mistaken. And on the humbug, I'm flipping channels and I see the Lakers and the Raptors playing. Like, they're gonna beat the shit out of the Raptors. I'm not thinking anything of it. Now, I didn't know how much Kobe Bryant scored when I went to bed. I'm not gonna tell a lie. But I watched the game intently the last like 20, 25 minutes before I went to bed that night, before I went to school the next morning. I was like, wow, Kobe's wearing ass out. Like, Kobe's really busting ass. But I gotta go to bed. No big deal. So, I went there, I did that, and I woke up the next morning and that son of a bitch just scored 81 points. And I said to myself, he scored 81 points? Like, 81 points, like, that's 19, you know me, I'm a math. I'm like 19 away from 100. Like, he almost scored 100 points last night, and I missed that. I was so upset, I was so mad, because all my friends who were Kobe fans, my number one Kobe fan back then, my boy Ronald Zimmerman, that I went to high school with, Spring Valley High School, he came to school, he was like, bro, did you see Kobe drop 81? We was in homeroom together the next morning. I was like, nah. I saw he had like 30 something at the half, and I went to bed.
He had 26 at halftime. Yeah. 26. And so that's when I walked in. I walked in and he had 26 and the third quarter had just started. And that's when he flipped a switch. I think he dropped like 32 in the third quarter.
Absolute dynamite, Charles. TNT. You ain't lying. You're not lying, bro. You're not lying.
And a lot of people remember the second championship where it was the turnaround jumpers and the finger rolls and being technically precise in every movement he had in his head fakes and his pump fakes.
Right.
But he played above the rim for the first 12 years of his career as well as anybody's ever done it. I mean,
think about Dwight Howard's, and when you dunk on Dwight Howard, I remember the fast break reversed one-hand tomahawk. I can remember he had he won the dunk contest.
Yeah.
Did he not?
Yeah,
Like,
his second year. Second year
in the league.
He got voted into the All-Star game when he was coming off the bench in LA. He wasn't even a starter yet because they restricted his minutes just to try to ease him into the transition from high school.
Right. Right, when he dunked on, you remember when he dunked on Yao Ming?
Yes, the dude was incredible. I mean,
y'all had to like, okay, cool. You had to like pick him up off his shoulder. He had dunked on him so hard, man.
People forget, man. It was him and Vince Carter were the best dunkers in the league,
man.
for his first 10 years in the league, and then he perfected that turnaround, and it was over for everybody. After that, he led the league in scoring in 06, 07. In 05, 06. And I mean, just a incredible competitor. I think my favorite moment out of everything, and him being my favorite athlete ever, was when he tore his Achilles. And he talked about it in an interview, what he actually did, and I went back and watched the video to see, he was trying to connect his Achilles back with his hand, which is crazy. And he said, I knew it was insane to think I could do that. He said, but I'm Kobe Bryant. Like, the way my mind was that I couldn't give up on my team, I couldn't lose this game. You could see him pushing his own Achilles back up into his calf. And then he went and walks across the court, shoots 2 free throws, and then they get him out of the game. But I mean, the dude was uber tough. I mean, that's having, like, we saw Kevin Durant get the same exact injury a few months ago. It's devastating. He couldn't move. He couldn't walk.
I agree, bro. He was supposed to live forever, bro.
Yes. I swear to God, when it happened, I said, dude, I thought Kobe was going to outlive me. He looks 20 still.
Man, I ain't gonna lie. I just felt like Kobe Bryant was going to live to be like 105.
Like, I maybe have 45, 50 years left. I thought he had 60.
Bill Russell.
Yes,
you know
exactly.
What I mean? Like,
super cerebral, super, just a great ambassador for the game, much like Kareem, Bill Russell. These guys that are so forward thinking, you know they're going to do great things after their basketball career.
right.
He's only been retired now for 5 years. He's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer this year. And it's over, you know. In that short amount of time, he showed, you know, tremendous strides. I mean, obviously they talk about how great of a father he's been since he's retired. You know, just having that time to spend, not in the transition he made to being a coach and being there for his family and being
I can't even be mad at you, Chuck, man. I dropped some tears about Kobe ass yesterday.
For sure, man.
I apologize for pulling them emotions out of you, brother. You know what I'm saying?
And it's selfish because we don't know him. You know what I mean? It's not like we had some connection where we were pals with Kobe Bryant somehow, but it's the connection you have with sports, and there's certain people, like when Brett Favre dies, I'm probably going to be in a coma for a week, like that.
I can go for that.
You know what I mean? It's just
I feel like this, man, like, and it's funny that you bring that up, and people talk about the greatness of something or someone, and Barack Obama, Magic Johnson, Shaquille O'Neal. I'm trying to think of non-sports figures, but sports figures at the same time. Neymar Jr. He scored a goal. He scored a goal yesterday over on the other side of the world, people, and threw up 2-4 at the camera, and rested him in peace on camera, scoring a goal in a whole nother country. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, Yao Ming talks about how Kobe was one of his inspirations, and he's a foot taller than Kobe.
One of the most intelligent statements that our president has made in his presidency was what he said yesterday about Kobe Bryant. It was smart, it was short, it was tasteful, it was very quick to the point. Donald didn't say nothing to make it look like him, make it about him, make him sound like a hater, a bigot, none of that. Like, Donald was very smart, very cerebral about speaking about Kobe Bryant. Like, it was a trip. Like, you know, like
the exact opposite of that announcer on MSNBC.
Right. I won't even get into that. But who else, man?
I mean, everyone. It was really crazy.
Jamie Foxx, the entire Pro Bowl stopped. The entire Grammys, they didn't stop, but you know, the Grammys.
They opened with
Yeah,
And he's not a singer. He had a little bit of a rap career, but he's not a singer. That wasn't Kobe's
Shaq
thing.
had a little bit of a rap career. Kobe wasn't no rapper. Kobe could rap, but he ain't Dame Dollar.
No.
He ain't Dame.
I don't think that any athlete really that we've seen has been that high level of athlete and that high level of artist.
Damien can rap. Side note,
Yeah.
sidebar. Shout out my boy Houston Lewis. Shout out my boy Damian Lillard, man. Shout out the whole Pacific Northwest. But yeah, man, But like I said, Jamie Foxx, Taraji P. Henson, Denzel Washington, just anybody who's everybody that mattered in the world that has clout, if you will, such an overused word in today's society, but you gotta use it in this situation. Clout, like, they all shouted out Kobe. They all speak to Kobe. They all spoke to what Kobe was to the world and what Kobe was to them in their world.
And here in America, it's MJ and then Kobe and then LeBron, I would say, as far as popularity.
I think the LeBron Kobe 2-3 kind of can be switched around.
Yeah,
but,
for sure. And Steph's actually up there as far as popularity too. But in China, pretty much everywhere else around the world, he's even eclipsed Michael Jordan at this point as far as popularity. Right. Because unlike Michael, he actually, which Michael did tours with the USA team, of course, and went around the world, but he didn't do basketball camps everywhere he went. Like, Kobe's actually turned into a mentor for half the superstars in the NBA because he started these basketball camps. So he's known these kids since they were 14, 11, 12 years old, right, when their potential starts coming up, and he can see that and see which ones are going to be good. And he's created, like you said, the Mamba Academy. And one of the big things he's been doing the last couple of years is pushing women's basketball and
just for more equality and having women's basketball be on the type of platform that it deserves to be on.
Yeah,
we'll talk about
sure.
that next week, guys, because there's been a lot of breaking news and a lot of big time career changing for the better type of news for the WNBA. But we'll get back to our regular schedule next week. In relation to what you just said, and it's funny that you bring up the youth. In NBA action yesterday, for the record, if I'm not mistaken, NBA games today and tomorrow are canceled. And yesterday, the games they were playing, if I'm not mistaken, you can check it if you want. I'm pretty sure they did it, but and I want confirmation for myself too, because I like watching the NBA. But I feel like
I think they're going to play the games, but hopefully they're going to do like they did yesterday with the shot clock,
right,
24 seconds.
It was a bunch of teams who did that. Everybody, some teams, I think the Pelicans, they took a 24-second violation, but the Celtics started the game 8-second backcourt. Then you go to Atlanta. Atlanta did an 8-second backcourt, and I forgot who Atlanta played yesterday, but the team that they played yesterday, they took a 24-second violation. You had Trae Young wear the number 8 starting off yesterday. You had the entire Pro Bowl stop what they're doing and give a standing ovation and Kobe chant to Kobe Bryant. I think this went over a lot of people's heads yesterday, and I thought this was probably the greatest tribute that could have been given to Kobe Bryant because of simply what he was able to do better than anybody else, which is score the basketball. I think Kobe Bryant is the top 3 or top 4 scorer of the basketball all time in basketball. That's just my personal opinion, and we can argue that all through and through. Not a problem. I'm not mad at that. But Devin Booker and Trae Young both only took 24 shots from the field, and they both combined yesterday for 81 points. Trae Young had 45 points, and my man Devin Booker had 36 points, and they both did it taking 24 shots, and they both equaled 81 points yesterday in honor of Kobe Bryant. I thought that was the best way you could show somebody how you feel. Because people say a lot, I love you, people say it, but show me that I had that type of effect on your life.
Oh yeah.
And they did it to the T yesterday.
Like Trae Young tribute wearing a jersey was awesome. That's something that I think every kid all these young superstars now, it's either LeBron or Kobe was your guy. You gotta say Kobe was your guy because
people forget, like, LeBron didn't come in the league until 03.
Did
Some
win
of
his
these
first
guys who
championship
were some of these guys who
2012.
right, some of these guys who are NBA superstars right now were not born when LeBron was in the league.
Well, they were. No,
I wouldn't say maybe not born. I wouldn't say
but they
maybe
weren't
not born,
watching.
they were kids.
They weren't watching
small
basketball
kids.
yet.
They were young kids. Let me retract that. They were young kids.
And so, like me, I started watching basketball when I was 6 years old, which was when Kobe won his first championship with the Lakers, when he really cemented being a superstar. And so, like, my entire 20 years I've been watching sports, he's been the one superstar that was there the entire time.
Right.
That was playing for 20 years, and then after that, he was always around, still in the media, giving interviews, does the detail on ESPN Plus. So he's been the sports god of my generation, much like Michael Jordan was of the one right before me. My brother growing up, we were Tar Heel fans too.
Right.
So that was another connection we had with MJ, and we always used to brag that we had the best basketball and football player ever, so no one could take that away from us. With LT and MJ.
And that's a fair argument.
And then so my brother grew up trying to get me to love MJ, but it was always Kobe for me. It was when we were playing in the yard, I was screaming Kobe. I was doing the turnaround, the sticking my bottom jaw out and staring down people. I mean, I was never a great basketball player. I never played competitively or anything, but it's always been my favorite sport.
Right. My thing, I guess, like my thing with Kobe as a kid, like I had so many elbows or heels of socks that I cut open to give me like an elbow band, like like it was ridiculous, bro. Left arm, by the way. Now, granted, I was mimicking Mike, but I was also mimicking Kobe and Mike because Kobe got that from Mike. You know what I'm saying? So like for me, like I don't know. I guess nostalgically for me with Kobe, like. Cause I'm a diehard Detroit Pistons fan, so I'll take you back to the one time when Kobe found somebody in the finals that could beat him or that could be his team, and I remember my Pistons winning the championship, and like I was super excited. It's like, yeah, we won the chip, like, you know what I'm saying, the bad boys are back, blah 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 blah, and that happened, and it was all well and good. And I thought to myself, because even at that age, I had a different kind of perspective on sports than my peers and people like that around me. And I said, I don't know if we'll repeat. I don't know what my Pistons will do going forward, but I'm pretty sure I'm willing to bet on the fact that Kobe Bryant guy it's not gonna be the last thing we hear of Kobe.
Oh, no.
And then 4 years later, 3 and 4 years later, he went into he took his final steps into the pantheon of individual greatness of a player in the NBA.
Yeah.
Because so many people to this day say, okay, there's no Shaq, there's no 3P without Shaq, there's no 3P without some of the cast of guys he had on the Lakers. There's no 3P if he drew 3 of the most all-time teams, like 3 or more of the most like weaker Eastern Conference Finals opponents all time, blah blah blah. Because that Nets team was they were good, but that Nets team was okay. That Magic team was okay.
It was the Western Conference
team was okay.
The Western Conference
like,
Finals,
oh my God, like,
almost felt like the NBA Finals back then with the Spurs and the Lakers and the Suns and the Lakers and the Mavericks and the Lakers all meeting up every year. That kind of felt like the NBA championship.
Right.
Even the Pistons year, the Pistons were one of the biggest underdogs to ever win in the NBA championship all time.
Right. And on paper, I wasn't just like we gonna blow Lakers out. I ain't worried. Like when we won it in 6 games.
They had
I was so surprised we didn't win 7 games.
Superstars, technically. Ben Wallace was Defensive Player of the Year. Rip Hamilton could get buckets.
The only real superstar we had on that team was Rasheed Wallace because he was a perennial All-Star with the Portland Trailblazers pre-Pistons.
And his personality was incredible.
Right.
I mean, Rasheed Wallace is one of the funniest, one of my favorite Tar Heels ever.
Right.
The dude's just a riot whenever he gets interviewed. Man.
And then you look at Kobe, with him winning both of the titles like we were saying, like we were both talking about before we kind of got off. Kobe did the thing with Shaq, the three-peat. Can't do it without Shaq. Shaq can't do it without you. Blah blah blah. But then Kobe says, okay, let me take the best international big at the time, Paul Gasol. Let me take the best defender in the NBA at the time, Ron Artest. Facts. Let me take the best young big man in the NBA, and I'll take them all with me up under my wing, and let me take the most dependable point guard that I can have arguably all time, and let me produce. And this is where the Michael and Kobe comparison became parallel to me as a follower of sports, because I looked at it differently. Michael took the same exact model in the late 90s and got it done, except with just different pieces in different places. Andrew Bynum, that was basically Luke Longley. Tony Kukoc was basically Paul Gasol. Dennis Rodman, obviously, Ron Artest. Ron Harper, obviously, Derek Fisher. People forget Ron Artest was an all-star point guard before he got to the Lakers. Before he got to the Bulls.
I think Ariza was on those teams too. As a lockdown defender at the time.
Trevor Ariza. You know what I'm saying? Who else did we have? Who else did Kobe have?
Kind of Scotty. Not Scotty's level. Like I don't think Kobe played with anyone after Shaq that was quite Scotty's level.
No, not at all. Not at all.
It's just like you're saying, it's the same blueprint, the same style.
Technically, if you want to say his duo to his two man.
Well, he played with Gary Payton and Karl Malone the year after Shaq left.
Yeah, but they were old as hell. And by the way, Michael Jordan put Gary and Karl Malone smashed in the 90s. Karl Malone, Gary Payton, Patrick Ewing, Sean Kemp, Gary Payton. Charles Barkley, thank you. What's the 6 common denominators? They have no championships because of Michael Jordan.
Yeah,
except
absolutely.
Gary got one, but Gary got one on the back end with Kobe in them. Malone ran into us that year. That's how Karl Malone didn't finish.
Oh yeah,
because he was on that team and he retired after that. But my point is, Kobe was so much like Michael. He took the same type of situation, and Phil Jackson knew this too. That he had that kind of guy that can do that. And they built a whole team around him, and he made it work. And to answer your question, I think his dynamic duo that year was Paul Gasol.
For sure.
Because Paul Gasol was arguably the best big in the NBA at that time.
He's a top 5 international player of all time. I think you throw him up there with Dirk, Sabonis, Daddy Sabonis, not Baby Sabonis now.
Right.
But Ginobili,
Sabonis, for the Trailblazers.
Dirk, Nowitzki, Elijah Wan.
I used to hate Arvydas Sabonis. I felt like if Arvydas Sabonis was not on the Portland Trailblazers, they'd have beat the Lakers one of the years ago to the finals. I just hated Arvydas because he couldn't do nothing with Shaq in the post.
No one could at the time.
I'm saying, but like,
I know
Arvydas was big as hell. He was thick. Like, he wasn't no small guy. Like, when he put Mutombo in the blender, that was different. But Arvydas should not have got put in the blender like Shaq put his ass in the blender. It went to show you how dominant of an athlete he was, because he's like, okay, he's just as big as me.
Yeah,
well,
everybody remembers this Shaq.
So that you know that it doesn't matter how big you are.
And
like, it's crazy.
Even like my age growing up, I remembered Lakers Shaq, prime Shaq.
Not at all. Not at Scotty level. Nobody was on the Lakers that could be able to, you know what I mean? But like I
think
said, Kobe,
if you put all of Artest's potential that he might have reached and all of Trevor Ariza's potential together, then you might get Scotty. You know what I mean?
You know, like you mold all that together, you had your duo, but nonetheless, you didn't even have to do that with Kobe. You know what I'm saying? Like, Kobe said, okay, give me a great young big, give me a great international guy.
And at the time, it looked like